The Neera Radia tapes prove absolutely nothing. Lobbying is a completely legal activity around the world, and those who are trying to act as if it's something completely new and illegal are completely uninitiated. Veer Sanghvi and Barkha Dutt have been two of the best journalists that India has ever produced, and they continue to remain best. It's a part of a journalist's job to talk to everybody, and lobbyists are hounding them all the time. As a lobbyist, what's your job? You wouldn't be talking to a vegetable vendor. You talk to journalists, you talk to bureaucrats, and you talk to politicians, because these are the people who can influence policies. What is evil? What is wrong if somebody sells his conviction for money? You're convinced about something, but you're saying something else, that is wrong. But talking to lobbyists, listening to their view, and even at times siding with their views, there's absolutely nothing wrong, because a journalist's job is to lobby. When journalists around the country lobbied against the court verdict of Jessica Lal's murder, everybody was excited. A true journalist is that journalist who has convictions and he lobbies for that. Almost every other newspaper in UK and US take completely biased sides of different political parties depending upon their convictions before elections. They lobby for one particular person to become the president of US or UK. And this is absolutely fair, because a journalist's job is not to present two views. A journalist's job is to lobby for what he's convinced about. And that's why it's a democracy. You could be right, you could be wrong, but you must lobby for your convictions. That's the role of a journalist in a democracy. And that's why you've got multiple media houses and multiple journalists. If you are convinced about something else, you present your views on TV or newspaper. And that is what a good journalist around the world does. Before Barack Obama became the president of United States of America, the common joke was whether he wins or loses the presidency, he's definitely going to land a job on MSNBC. And after Barack Obama won the presidency, the joke was that all channels declared Barack Obama the president at 11 p.m. in the night. MSNBC, of course, declared him the president 6 months back. That's the way MSNBC had lobbied for Barack Obama to become the president. Worldwide, lobbying is an integral part of journalism and media houses. In the UK, The Sun this time withdrew its support with Labour Party, and Labour Party lost. In past, it has supported as well as not supported the Labour Party. You've got the Times taking a different view, you've got the Guardian taking a different view, Observer taking a different view, and Daily Mirror taking a different view. Because every newspaper tries to lobby for what it is convinced about. An intellectual, a journalist with spine, is that journalist who lobbies for his convictions. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in lobbying for what you believe in. In fact, in India, the case is not so. This is how it is in all true democracies. India is not a democracy, it's a demonocracy, where most of the political parties and politicians ruling this country are demons. And in this democracy, the media doesn't have the courage to lobby for their convictions. So before elections, you will see always almost every media house, unless and until it is a regional media house which is owned by a party, that's an exception. But in most of the cases, what media houses do is they're very soft to the ruling party, because they fear if the ruling party is back in power, they are going to be taken for a ride. The government has set up examples in past. They have done it with the Times of India, they have done it with Tehelka, and they have shown that you try to not obey us, you try to question us too much, we can harass you with 250 cases on you, and don't you dare mess with us. That's the general impression the government has created. Therefore, the Indian media feels insecure to go strongly against especially a ruling party. They of course very often favor the opposition, because if the opposition comes to power, then it's going to shower all its favors on the media house. And this has been the general trend. Unlike worldwide, where newspapers on the day of the elections have run headings that this time, today, you must vote only for this particular candidate, because if you don't vote for this candidate, then you're going to ruin this nation. This is the clear stance newspapers take, and afterwards, if their candidate doesn't win, the government doesn't run after that media house, because it's the job of a media house to lobby. It's the job of a good journalist to lobby. Good journalists worldwide lobby for the right causes. That's what a journalist with spine is supposed to do. If we talk about lobbying as a profession, then it's unbelievable how huge this entire profession is. You've had biggest of African dictators with the worst of human rights track record dining with George Bush, American government actually releasing pro-such country statements, all thanks to lobbying, and millions of dollars spent on lobbying. Pakistan lobbies with America all the time for more military aid. China lobbied with 6 top PR firms when it wanted to take over an American company. Malaysia's Prime Minister has been lobbying with millions of dollars. Saudi Arabia, post 9/11, lobbied so much with the Americans to create a pro-Saudi Arabia feeling. And India has not been far behind. India paid $2.5 million to a PR firm and actually more payments to multiple PR firms to lobby for the nuclear deal. Lobbying is something that countries around the world have engaged in. The American government has engaged in. They have used PR firms to lobby in a manner that the American citizens believe that the war on Iraq is justified. Everybody, every corporate house, every government, every dictator, every good person, every bad person uses lobbyists to lobby for various changes, because that's what often brings about changes. If we come to lobbying as a profession, then in the US Capitol itself there are 20,000 registered lobbyists. In UK, the business of lobbying is estimated to be about $2 billion. And that's the amount of business and legality of this profession. If we come to the Neera Radia tapes, then what did we expect? Did we expect her to be talking to vegetable vendors on her phone? Obviously not. She's a professional lobbyist. As a lobbyist, she talks to her clients, that's Ratan Tata, and she talks to journalists, she talks to bureaucrats and politicians, because these are the people who have the power to influence policies. And she believes that these are the policies which are going to help her client. Therefore, she tries to talk about them. And then it is upon the politicians, upon the bureaucrats, and upon the media houses to believe in what she says and do as per what she says, or do whatever they think is right. Her phones might have been tapped for a completely different reason. The income tax department tapped her phones because they wanted to know whether she is avoiding income tax. And the tapes should have been used only for that. It is criminal if private conversations become public, and it is every Indian citizen's right to privacy. There is no government tape which can be used for any other purpose apart from what it was originally taped for, and it has to be necessarily kept confidential between that government agency and the individuals. This is extremely scary. In fact, Ratan Tata should go all out. In a country where justice often goes to the guy who has got more money, Ratan Tata fits the bill to use the strongest battery of lawyers to see to it that the people who leak the tapes to media houses from the government are punished, and see to it that the Indian citizen tomorrow has got complete right to privacy. And this is extremely important. Radia was only doing her job. Now let's come to the bigger issue. The bigger issue is, are Veer Sanghvi and Barkha Dutt guilty? I mean, every human being, every other human being has a tendency to boast that I have got links in top places. A journalist can always fall to that human trait where he boasts that yes, I have got contacts here and there. And not only that, an intelligent journalist might use his contacts to take out more information and to do his better research. So an intelligent journalist will always be telling that I've got access to Sonia Gandhi, tell me what you want me to do with Sonia Gandhi, and know what exactly is in the mind of Ratan Tata maybe through his lobbyist. And that is what a journalist's job is. What is wrong is if a journalist sells his convictions for money, and the tapes have not been able to prove that. There is no proof, there is no conversation where Veer Sanghvi or Barkha Dutt are selling their convictions for money. Barkha's conversations are complete headline hunting. She's a journalist and she's hunting for her next headline. That's exactly what the conversation reveals. And this is the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that in India, we have hardly had any print columnist who explains the most complicated of things in the most simplest of language, in the most logical of manner than what Veer Sanghvi has been doing week after week for years together. He's a teacher through the print media to the common masses. That's his job. And that is how powerful his columns are. And about Barkha, I don't need to tell. The entire world and India has seen her aggression, her commitment, the way she has fearlessly put her life at risk, the way she has gone behind issues, her We the People program where she picks up the biggest of issue, lobbies for the right causes, and she's absolutely right in what she is doing. The problem is that Barkha is young and she's successful. And there are a lot of wannabe Barkhas and people who are jealous of her success, and people who would give their actually right hand to be in her place, who are loving this opportunity to rip her apart. Because today there is something people love calling this social media. I mean, it is the name for social networking sites. And social media is a very interesting media platform. You need not have the responsibility of media. You need not face the liabilities of a media house. You need not put your life at risk. You need not go for thorough investigation. You need not do anything. You are a 160 character expert commentator. And in those 160 characters, you are ready to rip apart anybody and everybody given the first chance. It's a vitriolic community of people who come together every given opportunity for logical and illogical reasons, very often on subjects which need a much deeper understanding of that subject, on subjects on which you need much deeper knowledge base. They just come in and give their 160 character expert comment, and it is so surprising that people like Barkha also get unnerved by these kind of uninitiated comments. She should absolutely be unbothered about these comments, and she must believe in her convictions and the fact that she's almost a hero for an entire generation who has loved the electronic media revolution and those who want to be a part of electronic media. That's the power that she exudes. And in fact, as they say, jealousy is the best form of flattery. And she should take it as flattery that so many people are going so hugely against her without any proper knowledge about what is lobbying, what is journalism. Good and ethical journalism is about lobbying for the causes that you believe in. A strong journalist with a spine always lobbies for his convictions, whether the government is for it or against it. It would have been really wrong had any of them been seen selling their convictions for money. I have read Veer Sanghvi columns where he has criticized the Congress policies time and again. Barkha, without caring about which party is in power, has gone behind issues relentlessly and fearlessly, and nothing can spoil their years of hard work. It's a legacy that they have built, and 160 characters expert comments on internet cannot ruin their entire career, because it has to be seen in a much bigger perspective. And the bigger perspective is that the tapes should never have been leaked to the media. And even once it has been leaked, that should have been read and forgotten as a page 3 type of journalism. It's a private conversation. It proves nothing. It is completely and unnecessarily, and I repeat, it is completely and unnecessarily taking away people's attention from the key issue. And the key issue, my friends, is that there has been a huge 2G scam, and Supreme Court has categorically asked, was the Prime Minister sleeping? That's the key issue. The key issue is that Raja couldn't have made the money without other people in the government gaining out of it. That's the key issue, and the tapes help solve none of that key issue. The tapes are a complete personal attack on a few characters, and out of which at least 2 characters are people with massive past reputation, people who are exceptionally good journalists. And I request the public, and I request my readers, and I request people who have a sense of logic to look at things in a much wider perspective, in a much global perspective, than looking at it through a page 3 kind of momentary excitement perspective. For more, please do read my editorial, this time in the Sunday Indian. It's there in my blogs, it's there on my Facebook, the link is there on my Twitter account. Please read it, because I've completely detailed down global examples of lobbying and how it is done worldwide, and why it is legal, and why there's absolutely nothing wrong if journalists are caught speaking to lobbyists. It's their job. Thank you so much.